Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our North Middlesex Council meeting for Wednesday, November the 5th. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call. Deputy Mayor Hodgins is not able to attend tonight. So disclosure of pecuniary interests. Anyone has any, please forward it through to the clerk. Minutes of the previous meeting from October 15th. Any business arising or errors or omissions in that? Seeing none. Councillor Daigle, second by Councillor Irwin, all in favor? And that's carried. We have to adjourn the regular meeting to proceed to public meeting as pursuant to the Drainage Act. Councillor Daigle, seconded by Councillor Nerda, all in favor? That is carried. Thanks. And our first item of business is the meeting to consider drainage works on the Spready Cunningham Drain. And Joanne, whenever you're ready.
In front of you is, Mayor and members of council. In front of you is the report DIO 83/2025 for the meeting to consider the engineer's report on the Sprunny Cunningham Drain. Staff had an on-site meeting on March 12th, 2024, and it was discussed at that meeting that the existing pipe that outlets into the Little Osaba River is too small and causes flooding upstream. A draft report was brought to an informal meeting January 14th, 2025. This draft presented a 1,200 millimeter sanitite pipe. At that meeting, the landowners requested a larger CSP pipe, so a second draft report was brought to a second informal meeting, which was held July 29th, 2025. There was no major concerns brought forward. This proposed drain will consist of 47 meters of 1,400 millimeter CSP pipe that outlets into the Little Osaba River. The existing concrete blocks are to be removed and reinstated for erosion protection. The estimated cost of the project is $96,310, including engineering, an estimate for the environmental consultant, and an ABCA fee. The proposed motion and staff recommendation is that council receives report DIO 83/2025 regarding the meeting to consider the engineer's report for the Spready Cunningham Drain 2025 for information, and that council accepts the final report for the Spready Cunningham Drain 2025 prepared by R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated, dated September 29th, 2025, and that the first sitting of the quarter revision on behalf of the Spready Cunningham Drain 2025 be scheduled to be held on December 3rd, 2025 at 5:45 p.m.
Thank you, Joanne. Is there anything you'd like to add at this time?
Through the chair, nothing at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from affected landowners on this proposal? Seeing none, I have to inquire whether anyone would like to remove or add their name to the list. Seeing none once again. Any questions? Council? Questions on this one? Seeing none, we have recommendations in front of us. Moved by Councillor Keogh and Councillor Nerda. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, our next item of business is the meeting to consider drainage works, and it's Robinson and Joanne.
Mayor and members of council, in front of you is the report DIO 82/2025, the meeting to consider the engineer's report for the Robinson drainage works. This report was requested under Section 78 of the Drainage Act for a drain major improvement, which was accepted at the council meeting of April 23rd, 2025. R. Dobbin Engineering Incorporated was appointed to the project at that same meeting to prepare this report. However, on Thursday, October 16th, 2025, staff met with Mr. Robinson on site and was advised that the drain construction had been started. It was discussed that the steps of the Drainage Act have not been followed, such as the meeting to consider the engineer's report, quarter revision, the tendering of the project, awarding the tender, and all three readings of the bylaw. At this time, staff advised Mr. Robertson to hold off on proceeding with the work. Despite the discussion, the work continued. On Friday, October 17th, staff hand-delivered a notice to suspend work. Since then, the drain has been fully constructed outside of our usual processes. At this time, I feel our options are: number one, refer the report back to the engineer and direct the engineer to investigate incorporating the work already completed. The landowners on the drain would not receive any grant by incorporating the work. This would likely involve conducting a closed circuit video inspection of the drain to ensure compliance with the report and exposing the drain in a few locations to confirm the elevations. The contractor would be responsible for invoicing the individual property owners for the completed work. Option number two is to cancel the project. The engineer would get assessed out in accordance with the 1967 schedule, and no grant would be received. And the contractor would be responsible for invoicing the individual property owners for the work completed. The drain would then become private and the sole responsibility of the landowners. As we believe in the 1967 Robinson drainage works, we believe that the drain was crushed and it should be abandoned through the Drainage Act process. There would now be a private drain running through multiple properties. Suggestion number 3 would be to proceed with the report and assume the work has been completed to the satisfaction of the drainage superintendent and the engineer. Pay the contractor the submitted amount and bypass the municipality's procurement policy and the Drainage Act process. So the proposed motion is that council receives report DIO 82 regarding meeting to consider the engineer's report for the Robinson Drainage Works 2025 for information. That council directs staff how they wish to proceed using one of the laid out options as discussed in this report, and noting that staff is recommending option number 2. The staff's recommendation is that council receives report DIO 82 regarding the meeting to consider the engineer's report for the Robinson Drainage Works 2025 for information, and that staff recommend option number 2 as presented.
Thank you, Joanne. I'll ask again, is there anything you'd like to add at this time?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Josh. So at this time, anyone who'd like to come forward and speak, affected landowners on this? Can you come forward, please, Tara? Welcome.
But I bet you guys are really tired about drainage. I said, I bet you guys are tired of drainage. I know I am. So I'm Paul Mahan, this is my wife Jessica. We're the major landowner in this. And Robinson is our next door neighbor. We have 200 acres. That's our entire farm. Back in 2018, we started process of doing the whole farm with some help from our sharecroppers as well. So we did some then, and we came up with this plan to eventually replace all the main drains and do the whole works. However, COVID came along, so we kind of postponed it till about 2022 and started over again. In the process, we had to buy the railway track behind our place, just so you know how involved this got, so that we could run across the railway right away with one of the drains, the Calstein drain. So things snowballed. We even adjusted our rotation so that we could have wheat stubble this fall. And we kind of foolishly started to add more projects. So this year, after the wheat came off, we put on biosolids and then incorporated that. And then we constructed a wetland through the Sable Bay field and Living Labs ALIS program. So that was done next. Then we logged the bush because it was time and we didn't want to run logging trucks over the tile. We had previously already petitioned through Joanne and such for the one drainage ditch to be filled in, and that's still to come. And then at some point we decided we needed to replace the main drain that goes across our farm and onto Robert's farm. So we were trying to, I think I foolishly tried to put too many things in at once. But before I go any further, I'd say I'm very happy. I'm very happy because everything's actually done right now. It's gone far better than I thought it would. There's just this little hiccup that we didn't follow the protocol. So I don't have any trouble with anybody. Josh has been great. The drainage superintendent has been great. Great. I really took to Glenn Bullock. I met him twice this year, and then I only found out 3 weeks ago he had died. So that was a very sad day. And we get along so well with Robert. I get along with everybody. So I'm just very happy. So I know this has come to where it has come. I didn't know at the beginning if we wanted it to be a municipal drain or not. we talked about it, and I was kind of convinced by Robert and by others that it should be a municipal drain, even though we're the only two landowners. And then I learned later that yes, there is a closed road allowance. So the municipality is also involved on this with a small assessment. And I still think it should be a municipal drain. 25 years from now, someone's going to look at it and say, why is that a private drain? I still think it should be a municipal drain. There is a small amount of difference between option C and B for the amount of grant we would get. But in fact, this got done at the right time. The installation got done at the right time. We saved quite a bit of money doing it. And so the bill only came in at 60,000. The assessment, the suggestion was 107,000. It's only 60,000 plus the engineering fees. So the grant portion isn't a make or break for us. I did hope to debenture it too, but it would probably, I don't care either way. Still think it should be a municipal drain. Would like the council to consider option 3 as opposed to option 2. But if it's going to cause big trouble, we'll go with option 2. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Do I just sit down now?
Yep, thank you. Just to your point about Glenn, we all thought a lot of Glenn. So we all thought a lot of Glenn. So just so, can you remind us again, option 3? Please, Joanne, just so that,
Option 3 is to proceed with the report and assume that the work has been completed to the satisfaction of the drainage superintendent and the engineer, pay the contractor the submitted amount, and bypass the municipality's procurement policy and the Drainage Act process.
okay, we'd have to bypass that. Thank you. Josh, is there anything you'd like to add at this time?
I just did want to clarify one thing, that the construction cost that was quoted for the work that was done was 60,000. In the report, it's outlined to be 74. So those are kind of the two numbers that would be compared.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to, from the public, who'd like to speak on this? Seeing none, questions here from council, from the committee. Councilor Canellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I think my concern is that I don't want to set a precedent here when we start doing municipal drains and people just go ahead and do the drain without the proper procedures according to the Drainage Act and what our superintendent, asks of them and the engineer. And I don't think we should be setting that precedent today. So therefore, I would make a motion that we go with option 2, that we cancel the project and abandon it.
Okay, just before we take that motion, I want to inquire about the petition. If there's anything there. I'm not sure. Why do I have to ask about that first? If you can, please, procedure, I'm missing that one. Missing why?
Thank you. So through you and to the members of council, just procedurally, we should ask and inquire if there's anyone present who would like to add their name to the petition, just before we consider it and consider the matter closed.
Okay, thank you. So I have to ask if there's anybody like to add or remove their name from this petition. Seeing none. Now we have a motion on the floor for the recommendation, which is option number 2. Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Nerdy, seconded. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, in favor of that? Opposed? One opposed, that does carry. Thank you. Okay, we have to adjourn the public meeting from the Committee of Adjustments, and we go into public meeting to proceed. I've lost it here. We have to go into the planner's evaluation report. Sorry. Okay, Ashley, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor Roth. So these applications are for Deborah and James Wiseman, who own 261 Mill Craig Street in Park Hill. The subject lands, which on the map are the portion of the lands that are a small sliver above 261 and above this future development parcel. So when I'm saying subject lands, I'm referring to this sliver here. They're located northeast of Mill Craig Street and south of Park Hill, George Street, Eagle Street, and Merritt Court. The lands currently have no municipal address assigned, but they are under the same ownership and access through 261 Mill Craig Street. The lands are predominantly surrounded by agricultural lands to the south and a municipal trail to the north, with low-density residential lands also common in the area. The subject lands are located within the Park Hill urban settlement area boundary and are designated as a residential area in the official plan as well. So the committee residents and agencies may recall that the subject lands were previously granted conditional approval for a consent in 2023. Under the Planning Act, you have 2 years maximum to fulfill your conditions or your consent lapses or fails. And in this particular situation, the conditions were not fulfilled within that 2-year time frame, so therefore the consent was not finalized. So essentially, the subject applications tonight for the consent, it's just a new application by the same owners, the same applicant, and the same agent for the same lot addition that was proposed in 2023. So the intent of the lot addition is to merge a portion of the lands with the adjoining lands to the south that will inevitably form a larger developable property. And then the remainder will merge with the existing residential parcel that they currently are under the same ownership as anyways. The portion of this land that's merging with the future subdivision lands is ultimately going to facilitate Eagle Street being able to go through as a second access to that subdivision. And also a part of the lands are going to form the rear yards for some single detached dwellings. I would just note that the subdivision process is separate. It's a separate owner and there's separate applications. So this is really just for that lot addition. And then the purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the lands from their existing parks and recreation zone, which is typically a zone you would see on municipally owned lands for parks or a parkette, or a privately owned golf course or campground. So it's not really reflective of the existing use or the proposed use for these lands. And we're proposing that they be rezoned to align with the zoning on the lands that they are merging with. So the small piece to the rear of 261 Mill Craig would be rezoned to the residential zone that's on the front portion of the property. And then these lands that are merging with the future development parcel will be rezoned as future development until they're rezoned in the future as part of the subdivision process. So agencies and landowners were circulated in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, and comments received I did throw into my report there in quite some detail. But I would just generally note that Asable Bayfield, Integris, the County Emergency Services, the County Engineer, the municipality's Chief Building Official, the municipality's Director of Infrastructure and Operations, and the Drainage Superintendent noted no concerns with these proposed applications. And additionally, comments for the plan of subdivision will be reviewed as part of that process and are not applicable to these applications tonight. So in terms of policy consistency and conformity, a lot addition is permitted under the applicable provincial, county, and municipal policies, and they're often considered for legal or technical reasons, such as a minor boundary adjustment that does not result in the creation of a new lot. So it's really just modifying where your existing lot boundary goes. And as noted, the zoning bylaw amendment's really just going to change the zoning on the property to conform with the existing use on the lands, with the existing zoning on the parcels it's merging with. And again, it will bring it into alignment with the underlying official plan designation. So a fulsome analysis regarding the plan of subdivision will be included at a later date. Again, this is just for the lot addition. And in conclusion, I'm satisfied that that's in conformity with the official plans and is consistent with provincial policy. So I am recommending that the consent be granted with conditions and that the zoning bylaw amendment be approved and the bylaw be read a first, second, and third time tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Is there any questions from council? We have no public here, so. Any from the committee? Any questions? Councilor Canellison.
Thank you. Ashley, does this allow the applicant another 2-year window to meet all these conditions?
Thank you through Mayor Rob. So technically, yes. However, they are hoping to move forward as quickly as possible. I understand they've already had the surveyor out there and that sort of thing. So I would expect that they're moving forward within months.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? So we need 2 motions on this. The first recommended motion you have in front of you. And that is for B16 2025 submitted under section 53 of the Planning Act be granted. Moved by Councilor Nerda, Councilor Daigle, all in favor. That is carried. And the second one is the zoning bylaw amendment. Counselor Irwin, Counselor Keough, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Thanks, Ashley. Once again, we have to adjourn the public meeting, including committee of adjustment, and to adjourn and to go into regular council meeting. Counselor Nerda, Counselor Irwin, all in favor? Carried. Thanks. We're going to start with department reports, and I think we're looking for Wayne. That is for the billing officials third quarter update.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Wayne.
But you can't see me.
No, can't see you, but we can hear you.
Well, how about nope. All right.
No, it's
IT problems.
uncanny how clear you look.
I know.
So Wayne, go ahead. Go ahead. I
Okay.
think we've all seen you, so we know who
Thank
you
you.
are.
Thank you. I'm here to present the third quarter building report.
Yep.
Over the first 3 quarters of 2025, there was 132 building permits with a total construction value of approximately 36 million, including 54 new dwellings that have been approved. This compares to 128 permits with a total construction value of 40 million, creating 30 new dwelling units in 2024. In the report, you'll see 3 tables. The first table is information. It basically is a breakdown of all of the permits that were submitted this year and their values. Table 2 is summary of fees and charges for permits in the first 3 quarters. And the third table is a comparison through the 5 serviced areas that we do from their 2024 permits to their 2025 permits. And I'm open for questions.
Okay,
Thank
thank you, Wayne. Questions from council? Counselor Canellis.
Wayne, I'm always have an interest in agricultural buildings. Are they slowing down a little, or are they staying at a standard rate?
Agricultural, I'll say, is staying the same. There are buildings going up and through the municipality. You'll see that in the third quarter, we had 10 agricultural buildings, where last year we had 27. So I'd say it's slowing down just a little bit, but I hope it would continue on at a nice pace for us to get more agricultural buildings.
Thank you, Wayne.
You're
Counselor
welcome.
Irwin. Oh, Counselor Irwin.
Thank you, Worship, through you. Looking at the anticipating the fourth quarter, are we going to see this pattern of development continue in your estimation?
In the report, Arnie did say that he expects the construction to continue into the fourth quarter to be very strong. I can see right now that it has slowed down a little bit. I'm hoping that it will pick back up within the next month before the fees all change at the end of the year. Normally, there's a big push in December for the builders wanting to get this year's fees instead of next year's fees.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No other questions? Thank you very much, Wayne, for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too. I need a motion to accept that report for information. Counselor Irwin, Counselor Nerda, all in favor? That's carried. Our next report is Deputy Treasurer in the third quarter variance report from Neil. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Finance and staff are pleased to present the Q3 variance report. I believe that this is somewhat still of a new process for council and the municipality. So I believe that this is a big step forward as far as improved reporting and transparency for both council, staff, the public, the residents, everybody involved. If anyone in council has any questions, I would be happy to provide any commentary or answers or follow up or divert questions to my fellow co-workers it's to answer as best as we can. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Questions for Neil on the third quarter variance? Councillor Nerda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess this question may be for Brandon. Can we get an update on the community center renovations? Were they under budget?
So
Fingers crossed.
through the mayor to the councillor, we're sitting at about 10% overage right now, which is about 25K on a $250,000 project. There were a couple unforeseen things. But overall, the project is complete now. We do have rentals going in. We're just trying to time a grand opening with the childcare center.
Thank you, Brandon.
Any other questions? Councillor Canellison.
Thank you. Neil, the other day when I stopped by Ralph's office, I thought there were some printed copies. Are they still available?
Through Mayor Rob, the printed copies are in your mailboxes in the.
Oh, is that where they are?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
You should stop in and have a look at it sometime.
Well, it's been empty for several months. And
Okay.
the post is on
Any-
strike.
Any other questions for Neil? Seeing none. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Next, a report from Director of Economic Development and Community Services, and yes. Oh, I need a motion for that. Councillor Daigle, Councillor Keogh, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And that is on the snow removal tender results.
No, Mayor Robb, members of council, the report in front of you is just the results from our snow tender that we do annually. Unlike years past, there is no motion to accept as this is part of our operational budget. But I did want to outline where our results came. As you can see, the Park Hill Arena had a significant increase. That was due to salting costs. When we looked for the contractors, it's the same tender as we've always done, but our salt price went up significantly at that. When asked, it was just the frequency of salting with the common melting overnight and the snowbanks melting and then freezing and them having to salt it. So it's, yeah, that was a major increase, but in other properties, we saw decreases. We saw a decrease at the Park Hill Community Center. And then another one of a large decrease was the Park Hill Fire Hall, which we attribute to when we last year was the first time tendering it out. They weren't really sure how long it would take them. So we've seen pricing to reflect that accurately. So we should see something similar moving forward. One thing I did want to point out as well is we had Intact come in and do a risk management discussion. One of the things that they mentioned was we're starting to see insurance rates for snow removal contractors go through the roof. So at some municipalities are seeing their local contractors not even be able to acquire insurance. So at this point, we're happy to see 2 people still bid on the project, and what the future brings could be unknown towards this. So.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Brandon? Councillor Canellison?
Brandon, I find the two companies the names of the two companies interesting. All Seasons and All Care. Are they related?
Through the mayor to the councillor, they are not. To my knowledge anyways. I shouldn't say that because fifth cousins, run rampant, but all Seasons is our local in town here, and then All Care is Kevin Wiseman from just on Elm Tree Drive there.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Any other questions for Brandon? Seeing no other questions, we need a motion to accept that report. Councillor Keogh, Councillor Nerda, all in favor? That's carried. Once again, Brandon, the next one for you, or no, sorry, it's Brandon McLeod, and it is for the culvert West Corners Drive.
To the mayor and members of council, before you this evening is report DIO 78 of 2025, which provides an update on the condition and replacement options for culvert C50 and C51 on West Corners Drive. Recommendations deferring any decision until completion of the 2025 OSIMS report cycle. Current status, both culverts C50 and C51 are twin steel pipe arch structures located approximately 1 kilometer and 0.85 kilometers east of Gawkin Road. Recent inspection by BMRS associations in September of 2025 found both structures to be in critical condition. with advanced corrosion, section loss, and as the result of both culverts, the section of West Corners Drive has been closed to traffic for safety reasons. BM Ross has recommended full replacement for both culverts using precast concrete boxes, structures supported by engineering, retaining walls, which would extend service life and reduce maintenance needs. Each structure is estimated to cost, including engineering and approvals, approximately 792,000 plus HST. If tendered together, the costs could be reduced by up to 10 to 15% through shared mobilization and design efficiency. Alternative low-cost option may be explored during detailed design, but for budgetary purposes, the higher concrete option is being used. No funding for replacement is included in the 2025 municipal budget. The combined project cost is approximately $1.58 million plus HST. Staff recommend deferring until completion of the 2025 Wilson report to allow council to consider the projects during 2025 or 2026 budget process. Recommendations that council receive report DIO 78 2025 regarding culvert C50 and C51 West Corners Drive replacement options. Recommendations as information, and that council acknowledge staff recommendation not to reopen the roadway at either location at this time due to safety concerns, and that further consideration replacement is deferred until completion of 2025 OSIM's report cycle. And that budget for the preferred options be recommended to the head of council for consideration during the 2026 procedure process, unless council desires alternative options outside of repair or replacement. Sam and I can answer any questions.
Questions from council? Councillor Daigle.
First question is, how often are the OSIM reports done?
How often are they done? By every other year, sorry. Yes.
Because I recall we had 2 years ago, why didn't we get any kind of warning that this was coming? From the OSIM report done 2 years ago.
Sam.
Through your worship to the councillor, I think the simple answer you'll find when you get the complete package of OSIMs is there is certainly a data gap between a lot of structures of what you would have seen before and what you'll have seen now. It's obviously a different consultant doing it this time. I've worked with them in the past. They're very comprehensive and I trust the work that they do. So I trust the word that they're giving us. I certainly can't speak to the work that was done previously. But I think you'll find that this is more of a common thing than not, especially with a lot of the stuff that Brandon and I have been finding.
My objection is that we paid so much to another firm for something I could have written. It's just not proper.
Other questions? Not disagreeing with you. But I do think that we got a different look at this. Councillor Irwin.
To your worship, when will we receive the 2025 OSIM report?
We're expecting the draft next week from BM Ross, and then we're hoping to bring to council first meeting in December.
Okay. Councillor Irwin.
And have we got any feedback from the public about the road closure? How are they dealing with it? Any calls into the office?
That I know, we haven't had any calls on the road closure on West Corners Drive.
Okay, thank you. The question I have is, I know they're recommending cement that's being priced. Are you going to look at other options? You're going to come back with other options on this, right? If there is other options, like with steel culverts or whatever. Sam.
Yeah, to your worship, that's certainly a possibility. I think the problem we have with these structures is they're in the floodplain. So certainly there is going to be engineering required. A box culvert is obviously the high end, so we told them to carry the most expensive option, but there are certainly cheaper options, yes. The complication with this one is obviously within the floodplain.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Canellison.
Brendan, just to refresh my memory, where exactly is this? Is this down in the gully down there, down that big hill?
Through your worship, yes, this one is between Gawkin and Charlton Road.
That's,
This is, they call it low-level crossings.
yeah, there used to be two bridges there and we
Yep.
removed them, right? We kind of paved over the road there a little bit.
Yes, we did.
Just culverts underneath that pavement?
Yeah, there's two culverts on each.
Yes, sir.
Every time I go there, the water's over top the road. Okay.
But at this time, we're just accepting this report and we'll hear more about it afterwards. Okay. We do look for motion. Counselor Irwin, seconded by Counselor Daigle. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Brandon, the next one is yours as well. And it is culvert C7, Bridge B35, Argyle Street, and the Springbank Road replacement options and recommendations.
To the mayor and members of council, before you this evening is report DIO 79/2025, which provides an update on the condition and replacement options for culvert C7 on Argyle Street and Bridge B35 on Springbank Road. The recommendation is to defer any major design or construction work until complete of 2025 OSM's report cycling. C7 is a 3.66 meter span steel arch culvert on Argyle Street, about 0.95 kilometers west of Coldstream Road. Recently inspected by BM Ross, associations found advanced cracking, corrosion, fatigue, and previous repairs areas indicating the structure is beyond repair. Replacement is a precast concrete box culvert. An engineering retaining wall is recommended. Estimated costs, total cost is 568,000 plus HST. Bridge B35 located on Springbank Road between Glasgow Street and Elm Tree Drive is a 3-span steel truss and beam bridge showing advanced corrosion, section loss, and concrete declining. Repairs could extend service life up to 15 to 20 years at a cost of 970,000 or 1.8 million plus HST, while full replacement to current standards is projected at 4.2 to 5.7 million plus HST. The bridge is near the end of its service life. Neither is included in the 2025 municipal budget. Combined cost for C7 replacement and B35 replacement is approximately 1.14 million plus HST. Full replacement for C7 plus B35 is 4.8 to 6.2 million plus HST. Recommendations that council receive report DIO 79/2025 regarding culvert C7 and Bridge 35, Argyle Street and Springbank Road. Replacement options or recommendations as information, and that council acknowledge that structure deficiency and safety concerns identified for both structures as documented through the 2025 OSM's inspection completed by BM Ross Associations. And the council directs staff to defer major design or construction activity for either structure until complete of the 2025 OSM's report cycle. At which time update conditions that are the condition data and cost estimate could be brought forward for consideration during the 2026 budget process. Sam and I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, anybody, questions from anybody? I won't start it. So I will take, and this is on what Councillor Daigle had said. We talked about this before, and I thank staff for getting a new look at these structures, because I do remember 2 years ago, I think it was, might even have been last year, Councillor Keogh brought forward pictures of rotted out joints in that Springbank Bridge. And when it was taken to the people who gave it a clean bill of health, At that time, that was kind of hard to believe and that was questioned. And we were told that it passed. And now these all have gathered up. So I'm not blaming the messengers whatsoever. I do appreciate that we got a new set of eyes. But it does make you wonder, what were we paying for in the past? And we want to make sure going forward value for our money, because we're looking here at a lot of money here tonight. So any questions, council? I was venting a little bit more than anything there, but Councillor Irwin.
Your worship, just an inquiry. There's potentially a number of new infrastructure grant programs coming forward. Will any of these projects potentially be covered by these grant programs from senior levels of government?
Go ahead, Sam.
Through your worship to the council, if we're thinking about the same grant program, certainly a portion of them could be covered, yes.
Okay, any other questions? No other questions at this time? All right, we have a recommendation to accept this program. Councillor Keogh, Councillor Irwin, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Brendan. You have one more, and that's the Skater Roadmap review.
Yeah.
Sam, you're doing that one?
Yeah, sorry, your worship. That one's actually through me. So
Okay.
to the mayor and members of council, before you this evening is report DIO 80 of 2025. That's provides council, with the finalized SCADA roadmap overview that was completed, started in 2024 and finalized in 2025, which outlines a 5-year implementation strategy, upgrade priorities, and capital cost estimates for modernizing the municipality's SCADA system that we have. This project, like I mentioned, was originally started in late 2024 and then since wrapped up in 2025 since I've been here. Key highlights that you'll find in my report are that the original roadmap through Hermosa was completed in 2020, and it helped guide successful upgrades that included the Elsa Craig wastewater treatment plant, the Elsa Craig water tower, and the West Williams booster station. And then in 2024, Hermosa was retained again to update the plan to reflect the completed work that we had done, reassess current system conditions, and then reset modernized priorities through the 2030 calendar year. So again, you'll see within my report in the roadmap that it establishes technical standards, it identifies critical infrastructure renewal projects, and provides a detailed phased implementation plan. And then it also includes a full review of all the 9 facilities that we have, recommendations for standardization and hardware and software within each of those facilities, and then also integration timelines associated with those to better look at connecting all of our facilities together from a long-term reliability perspective. So the key objectives that are coming out of the roadmap are that it looks to establish an integrated SCADA network across the municipality for all the sites, like I mentioned, and it would link into our centralized platform, which currently sits at the Elsa Craig wastewater treatment plant. It would look to get us ahead of the game of replacing end-of-life programmable logic controllers, or PLCs as they call them, among a number of other obsolete hardware issues that we have with a lot of our wastewater and water treatment facilities. It would help enhance for system redundancy, fix a lot of alarm notification issues that we have, network connectivity issues that we have, and obviously improve overall operational resiliency. And the roadmap also obviously provides us as staff with better, clear guidance for sequencing and budgeting of capital works. So I won't go through everything in detail because the memo is quite long, but a lot of the projects that they propose from that 5-year would be the 2025 to 2030 timeline, are integration of SCADA at the water tower in West Williams booster station, which is done, integration of Bear Creek in New Ontario, which would have to be done, redundancy across all of our systems, Park Hill and Mount Carmel, SCADA fixes and recovery, which part of that is being addressed obviously through the redesign of Mount Carmel, for example. If we do that project separately, that would obviously capture that, but they flagged that in here as well, that regardless of if that gets captured or not, there's a SCADA gap there. And then as far as all the software issues go, we have a lot of softwares that go along with our SCADA platform. So a lot of it is to do with when those are due for renewal, what we need to carry, what they suggest, all that kind of stuff. The recommendations that come from that are that council receives report DIO 80 of 2025 regarding the SCADA roadmap overview as information, and that council endorse the recommendations and phased implementation strategy identified in the SCADA roadmap to guide modernization and ensure operational reliability. And the council recommend to the head of council that identified critical path projects and associated funding requirements be considered as part of the future capital planning and annual budget deliberations. So again, I'll reiterate that a lot of this is just providing the information to council. And then it's certainly stuff that we'll hope to bring forward as part of future budget deliberations, but we share the information with you all now, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Counselor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Sam, SCADA upgrades and integration. This is to increase efficiency and make systems more cost effective, hydro saving and that kind of thing.
Through your worship to the council, that's correct. Yes. If we have a facility where we have no SCADA, if we receive issues, Aqua has to obviously mobilize to site for them to be able to do anything. Where we have SCADA, it allows both them and Aramosa the ability to log in through SCADA that we have and possibly fix the issue remote. So it certainly does, especially even on one instance, but obviously over time as you have more and more instances. Yes.
Sam, just one more. Are any of these updates eligible for funding, whether it be provincial or federal, or is that just whatever comes is available?
Through your worship to the council, they would certainly be indirectly eligible. Yes, like for the Mount Carmel project, for example, that project is a project that is funding applicable. There's lots of SCADA within that. So we would likely have to do it in that way. I haven't seen too many funding applications that go directly to SCADA specific stuff, but it's certainly something I'm willing to look into.
Just to add on to that, I think when we first did that, at least at Elsa Craig, Aqua assisted in getting some help funding on that. We worked with Aqua on that. And there was some funding available with them. Okay. Other questions on this report? Seeing none, we need a motion for this report. Councillor Daigle and Councillor Nerda, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. So our next one, Faisal, it's yours, and that's on the operations Cassidy Culvert replacement repair project. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Good evening, everyone. To the mayor and member of council, before you this evening is report the IO 84/2025 regarding Cassidy Road Culvert Replacement Repair IO 03/2025 project completion update for information. The culvert replacement repair project was approved in 2025 capital budget, was awarded to Robinson Farm Drainage. The tender addressed structural issues with the existing culvert, and the municipality retained Spirit Associate to design a full replacement, including installation of new 1800 mm corrugated steel pipe culvert. The project is now completed on schedule and within budget, and the new culvert is fully operational, restoring safe passage and proper drainage along Cassidy Road. The approved 2025 capital budget amount for this culvert replacement was 260,000. The code received from Robinson from drainage, including HST, is 153,454. Additionally, Spirit Associates was paid 22,500 plus HST for design, contract administration, and construction observation services. The total project cost was 178,879, which is well within budget. Recommendation in front of council these evenings are as follows: that council receives report DIO 84/2025 regarding the Cassidy Road culvert replacement project completion update for information. And Sam and I are happy to answer questions if anyone has any.
Thank you. Questions? Councillor Daigle and Councillor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. Is this one of the culvert that would have been on the OSIM report also?
Through your worship to the councillor, yes, it would be an OSIM culvert.
I'm just wondering about the engineer that put it in, if it should be inspected now again, just in case.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Keel.
I just, this culvert needing to be replaced, was it on the Spree and Associates OSIM report that it was found to be defective and needed to be replaced? Or was it on the BM Ross report?
Through your worship to the councillor, that I know that wasn't on the OSIM's report from Spreets. We found out from a taxpayer letting us know that there was erosion at the road and from our road patrol.
Okay, second question and the final question is, indicates here additionally Spreet Associates was on site for contact administration and construction observation services. Was that through the contractor or was that just why were they involved?
Through your worship to the councillor, we had hired Spreeds to do the engineering for the sleeving of the culvert on that end before we started the OSM's report for this process. This was over a year ago.
Okay. Any other questions on this? No questions? All right, we have a recommendation in front of us. Move Counselor Irwin, Counselor Nerda. Do you have a question?
No,
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thanks. Thanks, Faisal. Our next one is Director of Infrastructure at Sam's, and it is water and wastewater rates and the study structural update proposal. Just before we go to it, Sam, I do want to take a minute to thank staff for really digging into this and working on it, because we at council none of us have liked the 3-year average portion to begin with, but for looking into this to really work, and the efforts that have been put in to bring water and wastewater rates back in line. And so, Sam, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Your Worship, and to the members of council, bear with me. This is obviously a large report and a large memorandum associated with it, so there's a lot of information I'll share with you. But before you this evening is report DIO 85 of 2025, which presents a proposed water and wastewater rate study update that was completed by Watson Associates, and then an accompanying structure update and proposal from staff based on the work that we've done. So the key highlights that you'll find in the report and associated memo are that the municipality engaged Watson's in 2025 based on a lot of negative public feedback that we were hearing, a lot of issues with the 3-year average, a lot of administration time issues, and a lot of that kind of thing. So we engaged Watson's in 2025 to look at modernizing the way we did our billing and our rate structure to be more in line with other municipalities, also look to improve fairness, transparency, alignment with best practices, etc. The new structure that you'll find proposed in my report moves away from the historical consumption-based rate categories towards a meter size based framework, which ensures that customers pay proportionate to the service capacity that they receive. So for example, if you have a small meter, your demand on the system is obviously smaller than if you have a much larger meter, your demand on the system would be much larger. This update follows what was previously approved council work, which included the 2024 water and wastewater rate study, and then subsequently a utility collection and billing policy, which was version 2, which was adopted by council in December of 2024. And as such, I have attached to this same report a revised utility collection and billing policy, which would be version 3, and then an associated bylaw number 085 of 2025, which is also presented in this same report. All the updates that I'm proposing, we have to amend the utility collection and billing policy to remove all the 3-year average stuff, and then it associatedly has to be bylawed to repeal the old policy and then put the new policy into place. So some more details on the proposed structure and key changes. The updated model maintains the municipality's 2-part rate design, which would consist of the same base charge that we have now, except for the base charge would only be to what your meter size would be. So whatever your meter size is what that base charge would be, and that would be a fixed cost. There wouldn't be all these brackets of different 3-year averages and things of that number. It would be a meter size and a fixed cost. And then similarly, we would have a consumption or a volume charge. Right now, we have 2 volume charges, and this would drop that 2 away, and we would only have 1 consistent volume charge. We would have 1 charge for water and 1 charge for wastewater. So the proposed update would drop the 3-year averaging, switch the base charge over to the meter specific for base, and then switch us to having only 1 volume charge instead of 2 charges. And then that would leave us that we would have single uniform volumetric rate, which again would replace that 2-tier system that we currently have now, that we're looking to get rid of for simplicity and again transparency for the users that are receiving these bills. You'll note, however, that Watson's recommended a much higher per cubic rate than I'm recommending in my report. If we were to carry forward with what Watson had recommended, the bills would be largely equal to what they are now, or if not more, which is obviously not what we're looking to do with changing the structure here. So at this time, I'm recommending that we continue forward with the existing cubic rate cost we have for water and wastewater. So that would be $1.11 per cubic meter for water and $1.13 per cubic meter for wastewater. And then these could be considered to be changed at the future time when council considers rate increases through a different report, obviously under separate cover. Again, you'll note in my report that obviously we are in November here, so I propose that all of this assuming council approves it, would take effect January 1st of 2026. And this would align with the new collection policy that I've updated there. So we would go through the end of this year on the current process. It would allow staff time to obviously get everything switched over. So when we start the new year, we could start again on the new process and the new structure that I put forward in my report here. I've mentioned this a few times, but I'll just reiterate the revised rate structure. A lot of the primary points of this is to improve equity, ensure customers are charged based on their potential system demand rather than their past usage, ensure transparency so that whatever they use is what they're going to get billed for. There's no lack of clarity there. And it also obviously promotes consumption. Because the bills are already coming down quite a bit with the proposed update, if they want the bills to be cheaper, it will be tied directly to how much water they use. So if they use more, it'll be more expensive. And if they use less, it'll be less expensive. So this also puts a lot of onus on the user, that it provides promotion for conservation, that if they want to save money, they can use less water. I'll draw your attention to page 7 of the report, if you haven't looked at it already, where I just did a bit of a comparison. I did what would be classified as a typical residential household with 3 or 4 users. So they would have, again, a 5/8 or a 3/4 meter, which is pretty standard for residential users. And annually, they would use roughly about 310 cubic meters. So you'll see I've laid it out in 4 ways, not including any storm charges. The first column would be what their bill roughly is now, what their bill would be if we switch to the new structure. And then I've just compared that against 2 other bordering municipalities to us, which would be Lambton Shores above us and then Lucan Budolph below us. So you can kind of see where we are in comparison to those 2 now. And then if we were to switch, where would we be in comparison to those 2 after the switch? And again, you'll see on that table there that it is a very significant reduction. Like the average bill right now, it would be dropping at least over $200. And again, take into account that this is obviously just an estimation, but the bills would be reduced if we did go through with this structure changed exponentially. Again, I've noted that just from a policy and process perspective, we will have to amend our utility collection and billing policy. So that already did go through policy committee, and you'll see that farther along in the council meeting. But what I did with that was remove all the references to do with the 3-year average methodology, which would simplify that policy. And then all of that verbiage that originally sat in that policy would then just go into the bylaw that we have that speaks to the water wastewater rates that we have, what those numbers would be and what that process would look like. And again, I'll just remind council that the way I propose this, assuming approval, is that we would implement it the 1st of January 2026. The recommendations before council this evening are that council receives report DIO 85 of 2025 regarding the proposed water and wastewater rate study structure update proposal for information, and the council endorse the recommendations of the policy committee, including adoption of the revised utility collection and billing policy version 3 and associated bylaw number 85 of 2025, and that the municipality adopt and implement the revised water and wastewater rate structure effective January 1st of 2026. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Just before I go to everyone, if I may, so there'd be one more bill. We'll all receive one more bill of the current way, right? 3-year average bill.
To your worship, that is correct, yes.
And I do want to ask you, because we did talk about this a bit, some of the factors that allow us to do this, some of the changes that have happened. If you could just explain to council a little bit.
Yeah, to your worship and all the members of council, if you go back through the water wastewater rate study that was done in 2024, you'll find that a lot of the projects in there, which were driving a lot of the cost, are projects that are no longer on the horizon that they set within the study, or B, projects that we aren't even really looking at, to be honest. A big one, it being the Park Hill wastewater treatment plant, for example. That was a big project in that study that was driving a lot of the costs. And as council's aware from a lot of the information I've been bringing recently, that's not something that staff are actively working on or pushing anymore. And if we do end up doing anything there, it will be far less costly than what we're proposing now. So a lot of it has to do with the projects that were in there are no longer priority projects and no longer projects that were driving a lot of the costs that were in there. Something staff has on the radar to do next year is to again work on amending all the rate studies we have to better capture projects and timelines and things that we're actually working on and actually going to do. So that will, obviously not as part of the meeting tonight, but that will in the future help rein that back into projects that are actually happening versus projects that are not.
Okay, thank you. And the reason, if I just add to what you said, and then I'll turn to Carolyn. The reason we're not doing the wastewater treatment plant is we spent $2.2 million to dredge the lagoons. I just want the public to know that. And we did get a $1.9 million grant. So we spent $300,000 to dredge the lagoons of taxpayer money on it. But that's the reason that's why I want to just point those out for you. Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, just to your point, your worship, and I'll remind council again, part of the capital budget for this year was carrying RVA to look at different options there, which they are actively working on. So again, that will come back to council in the near future. But obviously the whole point of that was to look at what else can we do other than a wastewater treatment plant for the long term, because there's certainly other options that are far cheaper than the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, thank you. Carolyn, do you want to add?
I think you covered, your worship, what I was going to suggest to mention, but certainly the funding that we've been receiving, the sewage lagoons being one of them, and the project we just recently received funding for in Elsa Craig, those are helping offset some of those costs as well. And we'll continue to look for funding opportunities for other projects as well that, again, will continue to help offset those costs.
And if I can add, and then I'll go to council, if I can just add, we're starting to see now more homes hooked up. And so we're actually seeing growth that's going to help to cover our costs going forward. Starting to see that. Councillor Daigle.
Thank you. Sam, this has all gone through the finance department also, the rate changing, and I'm just don't want us to be at the end saying, yeah, we've been able to drop this and this and this, but we're not bringing in enough money to cover the projects we looked at.
Yeah, through your worship to council, it's a good question. So essentially what staff are wanting to do here is obviously just get us away from the 3-year average process that's not working. This will bring us back down, but this is not the long-term be all and end all. Like I mentioned before, we want to look at updating the studies again to better reflect actual projects. So there'll be more information coming forward in the future, which would likely propose the rates going up again. Whether council chooses to do that or not in the future is obviously subject to future approvals, but there will likely be proposed raises coming at that point once the studies are amended. And again, we do have to bring forward under separate cover the rate increases year over year. So that's something that staff are still going to do. So we will certainly be bringing in less revenue than we are now. But again, I'll just suggest that it's a shorter term thing than anything, because staff are going to just continue working in the background and getting the rate study updated and then just bring that back in front of council again.
Thank you.
Councillor Keogh.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Sam, it really is good news to see that this new formula and new schedule is a benefit to the ratepayer in usage. Only question I do have is, in all of our new the new formula that's laid out here, do we still have a good coverage for end of life replacement and infrastructure failure that we're covered for, or are we just carrying that through on budget at a nominal amount?
Go ahead.
Through your worship to the councillor, I think what you'll find now is even what we're collecting now is not sufficient to a lot of the issues that we're coming with, especially with the budget stuff that we've had this year. And you'll see it in my variance report if you go through it. Any of the extracurriculars that we had planned for this year are pretty much off the table, just strictly due to leaks, breaks, and things that have come up that have been unforeseen. So even with what we're bringing in now, we're not bringing enough for the system that we have is the long and short.
And I would mention that we're going to be bringing forward talking about the 26 rates. So this might be tweaked a little bit, but it's tonight to bringing the presentation that's Sam.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I can speak to process of it, if you will. Tonight, I wanted to bring forward the structure proposal change, and assuming council approves it or not approve it, I have the report ready to go for the next council meeting, which would then propose the rates for 2026. So obviously, assuming this goes through, this would fix the structure. And then the next meeting, council could choose to up the rates or not, obviously. And then once that's done, that would set the framework for 2026.
Councillor Keogh, a follow-up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Rob. No, I'm glad you were able to answer that question, and the reason why I asked it, because you're the man that can answer it. And that was on the infrastructure and the failure of infrastructure, that people that are listening now have an idea that we're hardly even covering it, if we're covering it. So that threat is still amongst us, And that's something we'll just have to deal with as it crops up. But I just wanted anybody and everybody to be aware that that threat is still there.
Yep, thank you. Counselor Nerda, then Counselor Canales.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This kind of ties on to Councillor Keogh's comments. How long do you propose this new system to go on for? Because again, I would hate to run out of, if we, for the revenue that we collect, to run out of budget for for infrastructure and leaks and breaks and unforeseen projects that may come up in the future, as that threat is still there.
Yeah, through your worship to the council, full disclosure, and again, I mentioned in my report there, assuming the structure change goes through, I'm still fully in alignment with the rate changes that Watson are recommending. So on the 19th, again, you'll see fairly significant rate hikes. What I hope offsets that obviously is that the way the bills are currently, they will drop a fair amount, and then we're able to raise them via rates, which will still be cheaper than what they are now, but would bring those numbers up again. So the long and short of it is, yes, we will be taking in less income, but again, I'll remind folks that that is a short-term thing. I want to get the structure changed and then hopefully get the rate increase through, and then re-engage in next year going through the rate studies again to get the projects up to date and then revisit this process again. So for me, it's just about getting the process changed over, the structure changed over, likely, hopefully, again, subject to council approval at the next meeting, raising the rates, and then next year looking at the comprehensive overhaul of looking at those projects again and getting the full rate study back in front of council, which would, again, probably propose increases that would bring it back up, not to what it is now, but that would start to bring the numbers up again, if that helps.
Counselor Canales.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Sam, I have two questions for you. The first one is with the rates and the impact it has on infrastructure, just to expand on what Councillor Nerd and Councillor Keogh were talking about. And what comes to my mind is the Mount Carmel Reservoir. That's going to be substantial cost. And how is this rate reduction going to impact on that project?
Go ahead.
Through your worship to the council, even with the revenue that we're bringing in now for a project like that, we would either A, have to save for quite an extended period of time, or B, receive funding. So that's not going to change. That's likely not a project that we're going to be able to feasibly do unless we get some sort of funding opportunity. The other thing I'll just note for council's information, and it's something that I'm just working on in the background, so no real big changes yet, but we have had a lot of people disconnect from the system because of what the rates and the costs are. The hope is that certainly if they come down, a lot of those people might be enticed to reconnect, which will start bringing in revenue again. But should they not choose to reconnect, and we have systems everywhere that have maybe one, if not zero users, it's certainly on staff's radar to look at bringing forward structure or something in front of council that possibly abandons water main if nobody's using it, or even possibly one user is using it, or looks at a different funding methodology for rural water main as opposed to urban, because obviously when you have long stretches of water main with far less users, that cost that you're getting from those users is not the same as if you have far more. So those are two things that staff are also looking at doing should uptake not be there in terms of users reconnecting to the system, possibly looking at getting rid of some of the water main that we have that either has very few or no users.
Great, thank you for that, Sam. And you've hit on a few things that I've thought about myself over the years. My second question for you is the 3-year average, and you talked a little bit about people disconnect or residences disconnecting from the system. So if a person wants to disconnect from the system, are they still expected to pay into the water system, or will they be finished?
Through your worship to the councillor, it depends on what the definition of disconnect is. If all they do is turn the curb stop off, then they are still expected to pay the base charge because they're still technically connected to the system and they could turn it back on at any point. The only way that they stop paying that charge is if they dig right at the water main and formally disconnect, then they would not be paying any base charge of any kind anymore.
But if they were to reconnect, they'd have to pay the full reconnection fee of $11,000 or $12,000?
Through your worship of the councillor, as per our policies, that would be what we would look to enforce, yes.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay. Counselor Daigle.
Thank you. Sam, I was under the impression that once somebody hooked up to the water line, they could not disconnect from it, like go on to open a well again.
Through your worship of the councillor, we do not have policy in place that restricts people from disconnecting, no.
My second question is, we're talking about this one change that we're looking at tonight on the volume systems that we're using. and then we're talking about a price increase. We're not going to be sending out a bill that's, you know, a person, let's say a person's bill was $300. And because of this volumetric changing that we're doing, getting rid of the 3-year average, it's going to drop down to 100. And then the next bill, they get a new water rate. We're going to hopefully have those first 2 steps in place before the first billing of 2026. Correct.
Through your worship, the councillor, so there'll be one more bill in 2025. That would obviously be under the current process, and then all bills beyond that point would go under the new structure. So theoretically, the next bill that they have would be following the current process and costs roughly, obviously. And then anything in 2026 would be following the new structure. So again, this is obviously just an example, but it's expected that unless they use absurd amounts of water, their bill should come down a fair amount starting in 2026.
Okay, Councillor Keough.
My final question, Sam, and then I won't bother you anymore. Is there any incentive for the large volume users, whether it be livestock operations or institutions, to hook back up any kind of break? Because that volume usage certainly will help to get it back online again.
Through your worship, the councillor, not at this current time, no, but that's certainly something that staff can investigate. Or investigate and report back. I certainly don't disagree. It'd be good to get users like that back on the system if they're interested.
Okay, Councillor Irwin.
Thank you, your worship. Through you, I want to go back to the disconnect charge, because when the increased water rates were initially brought in by previous council, we all received a letter that said if we disconnect it, we could have up to $100,000 fine in our homes under provincial legislation. I kept the letter. I have a copy at home. I'm happy to share with you in future. It was an interesting letter I received. And I'm wondering if there's not provincial legislation around disconnect, or why would we receive a letter from the municipality stating that if we did disconnect, we would get up to $100,000 fine?
Through your worship of the councillor, I certainly can't speak to before my time, obviously, but what I've found since I've been here is there have been a lot of users that have been permitted to disconnect. Whatever letter did or did not go out, there has been a fair number of users that certainly did disconnect. So I'm not sure the intent behind the letter and then subsequently allowing the disconnect, but that is process that has happened.
Okay, is there any other questions? No other questions. I look forward to seeing the next report next. We need a motion to take this report. Councillor Nerda, Councillor Daigle, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Sam. Committee reports. Lake Huron Primary,
Nothing.
Salvo Bayfield.
I actually have a fairly lengthy report, Mayor Rob, if I may. I'll begin by the budget, which was approved, and the budget has been sent, I think, to, I don't know if Carolyn got it, and to our treasurer. So at this point in time, the increase will be, it was 6.3, it was brought down to 3.93%, which is doable. Our levy will be $176,000 and a combined levy of $181,000. And of course, there's always the special projects, which is the dam at $22,000. The increase in staff wages went up. We came in at 3.5%, which was a 2.5% for the COLA and 1% for the benefits, because this Conservation Authority went with OMERS now. Also, in addition to that, I think that many of you are aware that the government has indicated a change in the conservation structure, and that they want to do from 36 conservation authorities to 7. So I don't have a great deal of details on it. I do have a meeting with the board tomorrow, and I have a meeting with the Conservation Ontario on Friday. So I'll have more to report at that time.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor at that time? Seeing none. Blue Water Recycling.
Just the 2 upcoming information nights that we have on our green box or green pickup.
Okay, and those have been put out.
I have a question for the councillor, if I may.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Are you familiar? Are you aware, or has Blue Water Recycling attempted to utilize an electric vehicle for their collections?
I cannot answer that because I've received nothing on that whatsoever.
In my understanding, I got a report back the other day that they did, but they were only able to complete about 50% of the run before the truck stopped. So I didn't know if, I thought it was interesting, that's all.
Could you forward that information to me?
It was verbal.
Okay, I guess I just got it. Thank you.
Local School Advisory.
Your worship, first I'll do the EDAC, if I may, and then I'll do local school advisory. I wanted to once again congratulate staff for the partnership with the Historical Society and the volunteer recognition evening we had last Saturday as a first step towards a greater policy around volunteerism and our involvement. I think it was a fabulous evening. I certainly enjoyed the Yuck Yuck comics as they, well, I think they picked on you, your worship, a little bit. At that event, but that was entertaining. And that staff did an excellent job, so thank you very much.
Okay,
And then local school advisory, the minutes are here from
Okay.
the previous meeting, and then a couple announcements. But are there any questions on the minutes?
any questions? Seeing none?
Well, I was hoping to be able to tell, to inform council that we had a meeting scheduled for this Saturday with the provincial supervisor for Thames Valley District School Board. However, I discovered this morning that meeting was postponed to a future date, which we now don't know when it is. I don't know if that's a good sign or bad. I'm not taking it as a good sign. At the local school advisory committee meeting last week, the committee discussed a public meeting to be hosted at the secondary school at some point in January to talk about the future of schools in our community. More details will follow on that.
Okay, thank you. The rec committee,
Meeting coming up on the 25th of this month.
25th. Policy committee and Chair, I'll turn that over to you. 1 to 10 have proposed changes, and from 11 to 16 don't have proposed changes. So go ahead.
So for our policy, the first one, the wastewater rate structure change, utility collection and billing, I'm going to hand it over to the professionals.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And through you, so this was obviously before the water and wastewater rate changes came to council. We brought the process to policy committee, including the draft policy changes that I proposed in the draft bylaw. So nothing in what you see here is any different than was proposed under the council section, other than what Watson's proposed in here. Staff, obviously, under the departmental reports, did not agree with the volumetric charges and proposed something different. So nothing different in item 1 that was not presented in departmental reports.
Okay, thank you.
Is the North Middlesex flag policy. And I just have one item to say on that when I looked at it. And we talk about different occasions, and on I think it's the top of the second page, we talk about Her Majesty the Queen. It should be His Majesty the King and members of the royal family, I think, there. Because yeah. Other than that, is there any questions?
Questions on the flag policy, Councilor Keel.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I do have some questions, and actually I have more, it's more of a concern than anything, than a question. Initially, when the flag poles were erected here at the municipal building, they were to symbolize the governance, federal, provincial, municipal. I think that when we start to put flags underneath that, it starts to symbolize interest for special interest groups. I do honestly think that that is just going to cause a lot of animosity in future. That we should leave it as governance and governance only and be used as what they were intended for. The second point I do have, and that is on the bottom of the disclaimer, that it's up to the discretion of the CAO as to what goes up and what comes down. I think that if we simplify it and they are 3 flags of governance, then that's what it should be, and that's what it will remain. In the event that we have a change of staff, there might also be a change of opinion. And why look for problems if there's no problem to be had?
Okay,
So I would like that to be amended.
You're proposing is to amend it to just try to apply the 3 flags, the flags of governance. Is there a seconder for that? Councilor Canellison? Discussion? No discussion on that?
I would agree with what Councillor Keel presented. I think it's the 3 governance flags take priority, or should be the only flags that we fly, and I think that should be no discussion as to who puts what up. I think it's just the 3 governance flags. That's it, period.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion to make an amendment to that plan. Right? You got it? No, it's just to fly the flags of governance. Pardon me? Yeah, because there wouldn't be decisions to make, correct? Okay, in favor of that? Favor, that is carried. Opposed? That is carried. Okay, thank you. The next one?
Ground maintenance is a repeal, so I don't think anybody needs any questions on that one. Site alteration policy. Can't remember who's going to speak on that one.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Canelson.
On site alteration policy, that includes sites that are available for being built on, and they need to be maintained properly. Does that include storing of construction material for extended periods of time that are not being utilized? Do they then, can they remain there, or can they, must they be removed to maintain some semblance of order in the community?
Sam.
Through your worship to the councillor, so in essence, they would not be able to alter their site in any way, shape or form without approval from us. That's large scale grading changes or earth moving. That includes placing fill, dumping fill, storing fill, removing fill, changing grades, anything like that. They would have to go through the municipality first. And if they did not and were found to have not been following that, this now gives us process and associated bylaw charges and fines that we have that we could impose on them. So it would include all those things you mentioned.
So my specific concern is on Roscoe Street. There's a vacant lot there where there's been wall panels stored there for at least 3 years. There's probably about 7 or 8 feet high. They're very, very large, and there's been nothing done with them for several years. So would they be allowed to continue, or would they have to be removed under this policy?
Through your worship to the councillor, I would suggest that that would not fall under this. This generally speaks to regulating and prohibiting unauthorized activities that generally include fill, topsoil grading, changes, things of that nature. I would suggest that falls under a different bylaw than this one.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this? Seeing none, go ahead.
Next one is the fleet management policy. And I think this is just to bring it up to date for videos and different things.
I think there's a little more to it. Go ahead, Sam, speak to this a bit.
Yeah, thank you, your worship, and through you to all the members of council. One thing we were lacking here is a definitive and defined policy that spoke to fleet, managing the fleet and all things to do with fleet. So staff pulled this together in addition to some other process changes that we're working on behind the scenes, which will come to council under separate cover to standardize our fleet, bring it under one umbrella, centralize it, and then secondary to that, how we manage it. So this is just, a lot of it is standardizing things that we already do, but we didn't have a policy in place that generally governed it. And then where there were things that we didn't have covered, we obviously added in those things. So this will be provided to the staff, and it will generally just outline what we expect in addition to obviously following the Highway Traffic Act in the way of operating fleet safely, efficiently, and all that kind of stuff. And like I mentioned, secondary to this policy, staff will be bringing forward a report to council that kind of speaks to larger fleet changes that we're proposing at a future meeting. One of the key changes that we're proposing in here, which the Director of Community Services will speak to under a separate policy. Our fleet currently has GPS units, and another thing we're looking to add at some point in the near future, assuming council supports it and the policies are in place, is implementing CCTV dash cams inside the vehicles, both inside and outside. So a lot of the policy cleanup that we're trying to do, like I mentioned, is to get provisions in place to allow us to do that kind of stuff, and then how that would work, govern, so on and so forth. So I won't speak too much to the CCTV portion, and I'll leave that with Brandon, but a lot of the fleet stuff, again, is because we're bringing it all under one cover and just centralizing expectations of staff as to how staff use and operate, maintain fleet.
Sorry, Councillor Keo.
Brandon, the dash cam systems for fleet vehicles, is that a recommendation by our insurance provider? Or is this something we just think we need?
So through the mayor to the councillor, certainly there's been some incidents lately, and when we had our risk management in and done by Intact, they certainly advised that dash cams are very helpful to them in these cases.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Seeing none, go ahead, Chuck.
Next is the video monitoring policy.
So to the mayor and members of council, through Sam's last policy, we did need to update the CCTV policy just to include dash cam footage, how it's accessed, logs that are kept, similar to the way we monitor our facilities. So.
Any questions on that? Seeing none?
Next is the warming and cooling center policy. That's you, chief? Oh, the fire chief.
I can probably speak to that, your worship.
go ahead.
This is updating a policy that we had to bring it up to date with regards to what we've experienced over the last year, particularly this last summer when we had to open a lot of the cooling centers on a fairly frequent basis, and what we learned from those experiences. So just bringing it up to date based on our experiences and what we expect going forward. So it's really truly what we have been doing to date.
Okay, Councillor Canellison.
Could I suggest that we look at the highlighted area, number 7 there, it says warning as opposed to warming.
Thank you to the councillor. We'll certainly fix that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The recognition policy for North Middlesex.
Who's going to speak to that?
I'm not sure if Annika wants to speak to it or if she wants me
Yeah,
to.
come on up, Annika.
Annika, you could sit here, or yeah, that's.
Yep.
I can just say something brief that this was, Alan and I had looked at this briefly before he left from his contract, just to update it. It hadn't been looked at or updated since 2017. So just to bring those numbers up to date and to recognize staff.
Anything you want to add, Annika, to that?
Just from the financials perspective, we are staying within budget. It's nothing out of the norm, and we used comparables with other municipalities as well on what they give too.
Any questions? Councillor Canellison.
I have to ask, since I'm coming to the end of my time here, does this long service award apply to councillors as well?
No, sir, but I could always make you one if you want.
We'll have a private vote on that. Okay. Anything else on that? Seeing nothing, go ahead.
Municipal alcohol policy.
Yeah, so this is the municipal alcohol policy that we use as a standard for anyone renting our facilities wanting to have alcohol in them. So
Yep.
this is just the standard AGCO legislation that we follow.
Okay, any questions on this? Seeing none, go ahead.
Human resource housekeeping.
So this is just cleaning up the original policy. It was really vague, so I just made it standard with the other policies and just cleaned up the language and simplified it. So pretty straightforward.
Any questions? So the next ones, go ahead, are just no changes.
11 to 16 are no changes.
Any questions on those? Councillor Canellison.
Actually, there's a change in number 13, but I'll be reporting on that in the fire committee report.
But there is no changes yet at this time, correct? Yeah. There's,
If I may, your worship,
Go
the
ahead.
changes came out of a fire committee rather than policy. So these are what came of policy committee, which happened before fire committee.
yeah, that's why there's no changes here. I think those proposed changes from the committee will come forward to council after. Okay, no other questions on those? Absolutely.
My question is for the reimbursement for the DZ license for firefighters. Is there a set limit as to how high we go, or is it just random, whatever somebody says it is, that's what we pay? Because organizations vary greatly, so I'm just asking.
Well, with any reimbursement, through your worship, any reimbursement that we provide to firefighters or staff is always based on receipt of a paid receipt. So they'd have to prove that that is what it cost. As far as getting them to shop around for it, certainly, obviously, we always encourage staff to be the most economical they can be, but it's based on paid receipt.
Do we then provide some suggestion as to which is the more preferred training center?
I'd have to defer that to the chief, but certainly I can look into that and see if he can proceed that way in the future.
Counselor Keo.
Is this is on the driver's medical, is that correct? The remuneration or the
If I may, through your worship, yes, I believe that's what the council was referring to, or the DZ license,
it's on
with
the
the
license.
actual cost of the license itself.
okay.
Okay. All right, we'll carry on. We have a couple more. No, that's all of our policies, I believe. So we do need a. Which one are you meaning? Oh,
Sorry, through you. Just to clarify, there was one more listed, but if anyone doesn't have any comments, proceed, but it was the North Middlesex working from home.
right, but it's no change to that. Okay. There's no change. We need a motion for all of our policies, moved by Counselor Nerda, second by Counselor Daigle. All in favor? Our next fire committee, from November 3rd. Counselor, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, I do. And again, we have a fairly extensive report here. I'll begin by the recognition. This resolution, we'll pass it around. For service awards, and there's for long service, we actually have one person coming up for 50 years of service. And that's a pretty major accomplishment of 50 years. He must have started when he was in diapers, I think. But anyway, he's been here for a very long time and he deserves that special recognition. And we're trying to do things that we can to retain our firefighters. In addition to that, we also talked about remuneration. And the committee is recommending to council that we apply a $5 an hour increase for our volunteer firefighters to recognize and show our appreciation for the work that they do. There was some question about the motor vehicle accidents and that the out of community accidents and that we're not being compensated for them. So I checked in with an insurance professional and they said what the fire department needs to do, or the municipality actually needs to do, is request an accident report from the police and then direct bill the insurance company to be paid, and the insurance company will pay. Yes.
To your worship, I did look into that today. I wasn't at fire committee, but I was aware of that conversation. I have spoken through our finance department. We have been doing that. We bill directly to the insurance company. And so I queried why some are paid, majority I think are paid, but some are not. But as I think we all understand that some people don't, when they have an accident, go to their insurance company. So they then pay for it themselves. In that case, there would be no payment from the insurance company.
Right.
And I can't say why the others are not. Maybe they're all that way, but certainly what we are doing is directly billing to the insurance company, and it does fall under our finance end. So they are then given reminders after 30, 60, 90 days.
So we are getting recouping some of our.
Oh, yes, we are. Most of them are paid, but there is outstanding amounts. We did have to write off recently some of them that were considerably old, but we still do send out reminder invoices after, as I said, after the 30, 60, 90.
Okay, thank you. Because I think at the committee, the feeling was that we weren't.
Yes.
That was what I was getting.
It
We weren't
was a
receiving.
substantial amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have the numbers not in front of me that are outstanding, but we'll continue to try to receive those funds as we go forward.
Okay, just a second. Councilor Keo, you had a question?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. In my previous term, when I was on fire committee, was there not an exemption for if a ratepayer in this municipality was involved in an accident, there was no emergency services cost?
This is strictly for non-residents, correct?
So it's only good.
It's only non-residents. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Daigle, I think you had a question as well.
Just further on these awards. The board, the committee recommended that we finance the payment of these, for these medals. Approximately $75 a medal. So we have 21 firefighters coming up next year for awards.
Yeah, and as I recall, there's a budget line that hasn't been utilized yet specifically for that.
the contracted services
Yes,
was used for other things.
yes. Okay. Yellow Craig engine was sold for $22,450 and it went to Elbow, Saskatchewan. Strangely enough, they're putting it into service. Go figure. Okay. So the fire protection grant has been done and they're working on the fire station over there. I think the big issue here is district fire chief. As we all know, Rob has stepped down and the chief did put it out there for the members here at Park Hill Station to apply for that position, but there was no one interested in it. So there will be something coming forward to look at the full-time deputy chief. So we'll have to, something we need to consider down the road. And I think, oh, the other thing, the chief did talk a little bit about the wellness program, because we asked about, certainly the firefighters have been dealing with some really tragic events recently. And I asked how it was going, and he's not necessarily, my recollection is that he's not necessarily convinced that the one that we talked about initially is the way he wants to go. So he's still looking at service providers to provide that service.
A more effective service at
Yes.
probably less cost.
And finally, but most significantly, is the SCABA, yeah, it says SCABA. Replacement will come up. The tanks are certified for 15 years. They are outdated and obsolete, and we'll have to go to newer ones. And it's looking at a cost of roughly $431,000. So we'll be looking for some grants for that as well. That's it.
And yeah, and they are looking at options on that as well. Okay, any questions? Seeing no more questions, Community Development Fund. Nothing there. Aqua Client Advisory, nothing. Sorry, Brandon, go ahead, or Felicia.
I just wanted to say quickly that it was sent out to all of the user groups. The new application form was sent out to everyone that applied to the 2025 Community Development Fund. So that is out there and it's due by the end of November.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Because we are back into the new season of applying. So I appreciate that.
Yes, and the application form is on our website.
Okay, thank you. Middlesex County OPP Detachment Board, Councillor Irwin.
The next meeting is Wednesday, November 26th at 2:00.
That's it? Nothing else yet?
Nothing else.
Okay.
I've got some emails.
I would ask, with the Craigwood Youth Facilities not being open anymore and the amount of policing dollars that were spent there, are we going to get more coverage then in other parts of North Middlesex? Like, that's just a question to ask at the board, because there's quite a difference in how the policing will be done.
I will ask that question, Worship, though I do remember when we had representatives of OPP here, were we not charged separately for every call that they answered for that? I thought we were.
Your Worship, as I recall, it was calls to service, so calls for service. So
Right.
each incident with regards to Craigwood was an additional call for service.
Yeah, but they weren't separated just for one facility. But I'm just wondering, if we're paying that same amount, is there more opportunity there to have more policing in our community?
Happy to raise it.
I would love to hear. Anything else for Councillor Irwin on this? Go ahead, Councillor Keo.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. If we're not going to see an increase in service because they're not committed to Craigwood Youth Services, perhaps maybe they'd entertain the thoughts of a reduced rate.
Well, that was the flip side of my request. So, but it is, I think it's a worthwhile question and it's a reasonable question. Okay. Correspondence. Corporation of Township of McGarry, Ariel Spring, Township of Plimpton, Wyoming, Conservation.
I would like to support that. It's the conservation authorities, their fees have been frozen for some time. Conservation authorities now also been required to work towards our asset management plan. In our particular case, is $20,000 per year increase. Last year was 20, this year is 40, until we get a number of $200,000 per year, which is a huge impact on the levy overall. So I think we could not increase fees because they're frozen, but I think they need to be lifted. So I'd like to support that.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Irwin, in favor of that? That is carried. Regional Municipality of Waterloo amending Ontario regulation. Yeah. Move to support it. Seconded by Councillor Irwin. In favor? Town of Smith Falls support for HER Elect Respect campaign. No, okay, I'm just checking. Councillor Irwin.
I'd like to support that, your worship. I think
Okay.
we need to look seriously into these issues.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Keough. All in favor? Carried. Other and urgent business. Councillor Daigle.
Thank you. Mayor. I'd like to put something forward that I'd like to, and I'm going to make it as a motion, that after seeing our Day of Remembrance celebration here, and this council at the present does not do a land acknowledgement, I would like to see us look at doing a plaque that goes on the wall that people can come in and can read it, a land acknowledgement as to the properties that we're now sitting on. And I would love to see it out in the foyer, so when people come in, they can read it. Okay. And I'm putting forward that there was a motion that we get one prepared. We have one that was given to us, well, it forms part of our stormwater management. There's a land acknowledgement in that. And I would like to use that as a starting point to look at and then go from there to produce it.
To install a plaque.
To get a plaque produced and installed.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Oh, Sam, go ahead.
Just through your worship to council and to all the members of council, because I had heard this before previously that this might come up with the support of Kent from the Community Services Group. We did get it priced. So we looked at two options, 18 by 24, both stainless steel and bronze. So if you want to get a plaque of something that's similar, you're looking anywhere between, on the low end, 3,000 for stainless steel, and on the high end, around 5 for bronze. So we did get that priced, and if that size seems reasonable and that those different materials, that's kind of the ballpark you're looking at.
Okay.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Keough.
Yes, with comment that I think that that's pretty much becoming customary with everything that's going on. I know Lake Huron Water has an acknowledgement before we started our meeting.
Okay.
So I think that, we have to get with the times on that.
Okay, so we have a seconder in favor.
Are we voting for the bronze, or are we voting for the lower cost one, or what are we voting on?
Brandon.
I think to Sam's point, I think we can certainly bring back a report with two options for it.
Sure. When we know the cost better.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Canal.
Mayor Rob, my comment is for you. Given your position as the warden and your strong mayor powers, and being aware that there's a serious accident at the corner of Center Road and Nairn Road a couple of weeks ago, can you use your influence to have lights installed there by the county?
So. Yes, I did. It voted and it was carried. It was unanimous. You put your hand up. I asked all in favor and everybody put their hand up. Correct? And the only question was what we get, and they're gonna come back with the report. Okay,
Mayor Rob, my question.
so now let's come back to this. Yep.
Would you like me to repeat your question?
No, I heard the question.
Thank you.
And so I think we have talked about this in private. And yes, I think the other thing that could really help is if council were to send a letter to county, to council, requesting improvements to the intersection, including traffic signals. I would, if that would be the wish of council, I think that would be a great move, and it gives me a chance. Councilor Keel.
Could we have some contact information, or do we need to go through the website, take pictures and all that kind of stuff?
No, no.
We can get some
Yeah,
contact information where this letter is directly going to get to the people that need to see it.
absolutely. It should go to, I believe it should go to county council and to the clerk and engineer.
Thank you.
Okay.
And someone internally will draft a letter?
And I
Through
think
your worship, yes, we can take care of drafting the letter.
probably we could just send an email out to staff before it goes out.
Yeah, so it certainly provide a copy of the letter to members of council before it goes out.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other business? Do we need to vote on it? In favor, is that, you made that a motion, correct? And you seconded?
Yes, I did.
Councilor Keel seconded. All in favor? Carried. Any other business? Deferred items, communication, including county council. And then you see there's the health unit report there as well. I would make just a report that yesterday we did a day with the warden, and there was 5 students that came. It was actually very good, and they're very smart young people that came. 4 from Medway High School and 1 from Strathroy, and they've got their plans already made. Wants to be teach history in secondary school in the Netherlands. One person a CPA. Also we talked. 2 are going through for law. It was a very good group, and it was actually a very good day, I think. Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Just further on that topic that you brought up there, when I was on county council, I recall a day when the students from the area came and were sat at council and conducted a council meeting. Is that still occurring?
No, it hasn't. A couple of reasons. One, there was a bit of difficulty working with the schools to make that happen. And if you remember, some of the schools didn't participate and more didn't participate. So that hasn't happened. But what we have done this year, we started doing where the CAO, myself, and the clerk went to the high school to talk with the careers courses, the kids in the careers course, and a couple of the results, a couple of them came for Warden of the Day, I believe. But we want to expand that, not just at Medway High School, but offer that to other high schools as well.
One more question for you, if I may.
Sure.
I like asking questions.
I know.
Again, I had
heard
a
that.
verbal input from a very knowledgeable individual that suggested that the warden's term at county council will be increased to 2 years. Is there any truth to that?
I certainly not happening this year.
Okay.
It's certainly not. 3 people that happened yesterday where 3 people did put their name in for warden. So we do have 3 people that are going to run, but I am not one of them. But that happened at Western Ontario Wardens Caucus at the conference. It was mentioned that a 1-year warden really is not much benefit to the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus because you just really get to know what's going on and the year is over. So I think from that standpoint, but there's got to be more reasons than just that, right? But that hasn't really been talked about lately. I would think it would be more in the new term.
Right.
Whoever's there would maybe consider that, but I wouldn't myself put in for 2 years in a row. It's very hard to keep up at everything. So, but no, I haven't heard anything substantial on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing nothing. Middlesex County highlight meetings, the meeting highlights. And also, if you look, there's the planning and the forestry, that report. I don't know if you've seen it, but that's a good report, and it really shows the impact of the county forests and the impact on health of the community. So we found that very interesting, and I did ask that to be forwarded. Closed meeting. We have to move into closed. And I'm looking for someone to, Counselor Daigle, Counselor Keo, all in favor? Carrie, we'll move into closed for the next portion.